Hello, this is Bad Vibes. Today's stories are about encounters with the homeless. Joining me today is Silver Underworld's Scary Stories. His link will be in the description, as well as a pinned comment, so please check him out if you enjoy his narration. And sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm a 22-year-old female. It was a pretty warm summer evening and I just finished a late shift at my office. I was feeling tired, eager to get home. I lived about a half-mile away, so I walked down the empty street towards my apartment building. I noticed a homeless man sitting on the sidewalk. He was muttering something to himself and seemed agitated. I didn't think much of it though, and continued on my way. Suddenly, I heard footsteps and turned around to see the homeless man running towards me with a screwdriver in his hand. I immediately started running, but he was fast and quickly caught up to me. I could feel his breath on my neck as he lunged at me, swinging the screwdriver and nipping my jacket. My heart was pounding and I knew I had to do something to get away from him. I zigzagged down the street, hoping to confuse him or slow him down, but he was determined and kept chasing me. I could hear him screaming profanities and threats as he closed in on me again. I could see my local convenience store up ahead, and I made a run for it, hoping to find safety inside. I could feel him right behind me as I was running into the entrance and pushed my way inside. I ran into the bathroom, shut it behind me and locked it, panting and sweating. The man pounded on the door, trying to force his way inside. I could hear him cursing and yelling as I crouched down behind the sink, just in case he broke through the door. I could hear the employee telling him to leave, but the man paid no attention. After what felt like an eternity, I heard his footsteps fading away and realized he had given up and left. I stayed in the bathroom until the employee came to the door. Eventually, I mustered up the courage to walk back to my apartment, my heart still racing and my hands shaking. That night, I had trouble sleeping, haunted by the thought of the homeless man's rage and the screwdriver he wielded. So, I don't live in the greatest area, nor the nicest apartment. I'm always checking my surroundings when I'm out and about. Nothing crazy, just being aware of what's going on around me. That being said, the other night I decided that the mountain of dirty clothes and happening in my closet was bordering on, disgusting, and it was time for me to do one of my least favorite chores, laundry. I don't mind doing laundry itself, but the laundry room in this building always gives me the creeps. It's in the dank and dark basement of the building, and you always have to grope the wall for the light switch. It would really make an excellent location for a horror film. So I go down, throw my laundry in the machine. Everything is fine and dandy. Come back 45 minutes later to throw it in the dryer. Nothing out of the usual. An hour later, I go back downstairs to the basement to collect my stuff from the dryer. Well, when I turn on the lights, the dryer door is open and my shit is strewn about, on the ground, hanging out of the dryer, etc. To top all of that, they were still wet, which was the worst part because I didn't want to have to keep coming down to the laundry room because I'm a lazy shit. Normally I'd be like whatever, because sometimes people open dryers and don't close them, but this really looked like someone rummaged through my stuff. Shrugging this off, I put my stuff back in, and that's when I get such a sharp chill running down my spine, like it was so random. I generally felt like I wasn't alone. I turn around, back to the elevator, and all of a sudden I hear the sound of someone frantically running up the stairs on the other side of the room, almost as if they knew they had been spotted. Anyway, I get my laundry back to my apartment and notice I'm missing stuff, but at that point I'm creeped out, so I'm not in the mood to go snooping around looking for some t-shirts. I kind of forget about the whole thing until a couple days later. I receive an email from the landlord telling all the residents that a homeless guy not only broke into the building, he performed sexual acts upon himself in the laundry room, then started a fire and went around the building trying to break into people's unlocked apartments. So I'm guessing this guy went through my stuff, probably took something, did God knows what with it, and started an actual fucking fire for some reason. I was homeless for a couple years and parked to sleep at a campsite up north from where I'm from. I pulled in, parked, fed the cats, and started to cook and relax. Flashlights appeared in my face, 4 of them, looking at my window, so I assumed it was rangers asking me to move, since this campsite was technically closed. I rolled down my window a bit and asked them what was up, and apparently it was a family of 4, also parked and camping. They had a fire going and a dog, so I figured things were okay here, but there was a really weird feeling. My boyfriend at the time decided to try to befriend them, and we got out to chat. They asked us a lot of very pointed, personal questions. Are you married? Do you live around here? Do you have kids? But actually, it was their 2 kids asking all the questions. They spoke like adults, which made me assume maybe trauma was a real part in their lives. At some point, their kids put themselves to bed by basically going, "Mom, Dad, we're headed to bed." That really rubbed me the wrong way, but whatever. It all got worse from here though. They talked about their converted truck they live in. Apparently the kids shared a bed, and the key point they made was that the van was soundproof. They really wanted to play with our cats, but no such luck. They started to try to separate me from my boyfriend, saying shit like, "Let's walk to the river. Let's go look at the car." And at some point, they started letting the fire go out and standing behind us a lot. That was enough. We left some stuff behind and got in our car, started it up, and just talked like, what the fuck? It took 2 minutes for the woman to walk up to the van and asked if we were leaving. We said no, and that we were just cold. She asked to sit in the seat behind us. I asked why. She didn't answer, and asked if she could sit with us or on my lap. Again, I asked why. Again, she didn't answer. She said we couldn't leave her there because her husband beats her, so I asked her if she wanted us to call the police. She didn't answer, pulled out a cigarette and lit up. We looked at each other and heard someone douse the fire. I said, "Baby," just out of so much nervousness, which is when I found out that my boyfriend was suspicious from the beginning and didn't think to say anything until now, only to add that if I had stayed and not followed him to the car, he would have just left me there. He was a waste of space, but before I could process it, I heard the husband grab something off the fire tool set. And from earlier, I noticed that they had a large red axe. I just got tunnel vision and hit the gas. I felt the bitch pounce off the side of my van as we pulled away, and just as we got on the road, an ambulance was behind us with the lights flashing. I wasn't stopping for it. You know how easy it is to buy emergency lights for your car on Amazon. No fucking thanks. The ambulance eventually turned off a dead-end road after a while of demon driving into town. We never heard a siren. I looked up the aforementioned river. It was 2.5 miles into the dense woods. Apparently, a lot of people go missing out there. I wonder who's to blame. This happened about a month ago, and I could still not shake this traumatic event. I'm a receptionist at a professional building in Pasadena, California. I'm female in my mid-20s and spend the long boring days at my desk listening to my favorite murder, crime junkie, and new obsession, Let's Not Meet the Pod, that I started binging yesterday and got me writing this post. So it was a normal Tuesday at the office. I got off around 6 p.m. and locked everything up. I make my way downstairs to the lit up parking lot and say goodbye to the standing security guard. I pull out my keys in preparation for the long walk to my car, which is in the isolated employee parking lot. The employee's parking lot is about a block away from my office building on a secluded street with literally no street lights or through traffic. I'm not sure why the street has no street lights. Normally it's not dark out at 6 p.m., but since it was November, it's pitch black out by this time. So as routine, I pull out my keys while I'm in the lit parking lot and call my boyfriend just in case I get murdered or something. This situation made me realize that my boyfriend could not help me through the phone. So I'm talking to my boyfriend, keys in hand, and I see a dark figure on the sidewalk that I'm walking on to get to my car. I say something to my boyfriend and see the dark figure walking towards me. I flip my phone light to shine in his face and he says, "Who the fuck are you talking to, bitch?" I immediately go off the sidewalk into the street to get away and say, "My boyfriend." I could tell right away that he was a dirty meth head homeless man with a huge beard, khaki shorts, and a ball cap. He then starts yelling at me, "Who you talking to, bitch?" and follows me in the street. I literally stop and show him my phone like an idiot, trying to prove that I wasn't talking to him. He comes up to me at an arm's distance and starts calling me awful names and demanding I go to the other side of the street, as if he owned the place. We were both in the middle of the street now. I knew if I crossed to the other side, I would just have to cross again, as my car was on the side of the crazy homeless man. I told him, "Get the fuck away from me, I'll call the police right now," with the most disgusting look on my face. He then puts his hands in the shape of a gun, puts his fingers to my head, and in a method-induced slur says, "I'll kill you, bitch. Right here. You fat bitch. I'll kill you." My heart sank. At this moment, I realized this guy was out of his mind, angry and violent. I start to rush towards my car, all while my boyfriend is on the phone saying, "What's going on? Get in your car. Put your keys between your fingers and run." I see the man running towards my car, and luckily I dodged him, pressed the unlock button, and got in super quick. He's standing right in front of my car and proceeds to kick my front bumper hard, saying, "Fuck you, you better not call the cops," on repeat. He then runs behind a dumpster and is spying on me from behind the dumpster as I'm pulling out. He then starts running around my car towards the front, and I truly thought I was going to have to run him over. He starts chasing my car down the road and stops at his belongings. I peel into my office building and flag down the security guard, hysterical. I told him that there's a crazy man that just threatened to kill me. I call the cops and see the man booking it down the street, which gave me the perfect view of his face and outfit. The cops sent an officer, and I left the scene 5 minutes later. The crazy man was still on the corner just standing there, so I screamed, "Fuck you," as I drove off. He tried to run at my car. Apparently the cops couldn't find him. He even sent a helicopter. I later found out that he tried to rob my coworker that night, but was unsuccessful. The next morning, I saw the crazy man back in front of the employee parking. 2 cops were surrounding him. He was arrested. I was happy, but anxious that I had to see the crazy man yet again. He proceeded to hang around the street for the next 2 weeks. I constantly saw him in the morning and on my lunch. I was paranoid that he was looking for me. I thought that's why he was coming back. He must be looking for me. I messaged our office building manager, and they got a trespassing order on this dude. I hadn't seen him again until this Monday. He was sleeping at the same exact spot where the encounter happened. My heart sinks every time I see him, and I relive the trauma all over. Our office building now has employees move their cars over from the employee parking lot to the main lot around 4 p.m., so no one is walking in the dark anymore. We also use the buddy system now. I got 2 pepper spray cans, and I don't go anywhere without them now. I always thought that my obsession with true crime had prepared me for any scary situation thrown my way. After this night, I realized that there is no amount of true crime podcast that could ever prepare me to fight off someone who has the will to harm me. If this man had a gun, I'd be done for.
This is my second post to this sub. I have almost a lot of different encounters and few people wanted me to post more about them, so here's another one for you guys. So, the same suburban area where my family lived, there was a really old abandoned 3-story building, a few houses from ours. It was a local hotspot for teenagers and other young kids to go explore this scary old building. Me and my friends had explored it a lot of times, mostly just the yard since the house owner still owned it and took care of it. By that, the owner just locked all the doors and windows whenever someone broke into it. But one day, me and my 3 friends wanted some excitement, so we figured we should just go to the house for old time's sake in the middle of the night. And so we did. We went to the house, and I'm not sure if it was just the feeling of an abandoned building, but something already felt off in my head. But I feel like that in a lot of places, so I didn't think much about it. We then tried to open the door, but it seemed to be locked or stuck since we tried pulling it and pulling, but it didn't open. Then my other friend tried kicking the door in. He managed to get his foot through the door, making a hole in it. We then reached through the hole and opened the door from the other side. It had a weird mechanic or something, but we got it open and we went in. The rooms were quite small, even though that there were a lot of rooms. It had a basement and a middle floor and an upstairs. We explored and chatted and explored it for old time's sake. It was about pretty much 1 a.m. when it started to rain a bit. So we decided to stay inside from the rain. We were upstairs in kind of a living room. We sat down on the floor instead of an old molded couch because, really, who would do that? We were chatting about Clash Royale until we heard a sound coming from the downstairs. Floorboard creaking. Me and the others got all silent and confused about it. And then we just watched each other in silence. Then we heard another creak and something falling on the ground. We then looked at each other with wide eyes, scared to what to do. I then managed to stretch myself to look down the stairs with my head hidden. I didn't see anything, but I noticed that a table had fallen over in the kitchen area. I then told my friends that it was just the wind. It knocked down a table in the kitchen, and then we all started to chuckle from the jump scare. We then stood up and got ready to go downstairs, but before we could even reach the first step, we heard someone running and dashing from the back door outside. One of my friends got scared from it, so much that he almost fell. It's still funny to this day. You should have seen his face. But in all seriousness, we got confused and scared, so we decided to book it from the front door. We ran half a block to our friend's house, and we didn't see or notice anything on the way. Except the back door was almost off its hinges in the backyard. It was a strange happening, but we didn't think about it much. It was probably another teenager trying to break in and explore it, and got scared and ran away, we thought. Then a few days go by, and a friend from our group in the house noticed something interesting in the newspaper, that a local drug addict homeless man had been found and taken to custody. The man had been living in the abandoned house and using it for drug deals and shelter. Now, I don't know what would have happened if we didn't hear his sounds and went downstairs with, "I'm in there." And I still think about it sometimes. What could have happened, but I'm very happy nothing happened to us. But man, it was still pretty fucked up. I was working on a no-budget film. A really trashy script. Weird plot. No redeeming values at all. Toward the end of the production, me and the director were going around getting second unit inserts. We were on 59th Street at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, uploading the camera. We were going up to a penthouse he knew of to get a shot looking down at Central Park. No one knew about the film other than the production crew and actors. It would never, ever have been mentioned in any media. So the director and I are unloading, and there's no one around except for one homeless man. He shuffled along the sidewalk, heading in our direction. He's one of the sad mentally ill people that our society refuses to help. So his schizophrenia is untreated, and he's out on the streets, and he's talking to himself nonstop as he comes along. When he gets close to us, he looks at us and says, "And here are those guys that are making that movie about." And he proceeds to rattle off the entire plot line as he walks past, as if he were reading the IMDb synopsis. None of our equipment was visible. So there was no way that anyone would recognize us as a film crew. The director and I just looked at each other like, what just happened? When I was 17, going through Virginia with my mom on our way to North Carolina, We were staying at this hotel called Alexandria, and a lot of places were walking distance from this place. So, one day, we got ready to get breakfast over at this place called Panera Bread, a few blocks away. It's around maybe 11 a.m. Decently populated area. It's the summer. I'm in typical summer clothes. Nothing too extreme. A tank top and jean shorts. This guy is walking towards us on the sidewalk, and he starts walking directly towards us. As he comes closer, and I'm like, what the fuck is this dude doing? And he comes up to my mom, and I'm about 5 feet or so away, because I didn't realize he started saying something until I hear, "How much for the little one?" Because he thinks I'm a prostitute and my mom is my pimp. My mom was like, "That's my daughter, and she's not for sale." And he was like, "Oh, you have a beautiful daughter." And then was like, "Can I bum some cigarettes?" To my mom. When we were leaving Alexandria a day or two later, we are pretty sure we saw the same guy passed out on a public bench. So, to the horny homeless guy who thought I was a hooker, let's not meet again. I'm 18 and female, and I went to the beach with friends and my boyfriend. It was a hot day, so we had fun at the park, and then in the evening we went to Brighton Beach and took some pictures of the sunset. We were having a good time. My friends Jay, who is 19 male, and E, 18 female, and her boyfriend D, 18 male, and my boyfriend, 19 male. So we were sitting there. Me and my friends were all wearing shorts because it was hot and the temperature was slowly going down. D leaves to catch a train. A drunk old man in his 60s approached us. I could sense something was wrong, so I asked him about himself, and he sat down with us. He seems friendly enough and just looking for human interaction. Personally, I like helping people and talking to strangers. He seems to take a liking to me, but I didn't think much of it. Basically, he told us about his mess in the past. His brother committed suicide. His dad had prostate cancer, and he got it too, and only had 6 months left to live. We were quite drunk, so honestly, we weren't all there. He then told us about how in the morning he's going to jump off a cliff and kill himself. And then he describes his messed up life, self-harm, being R-word, etc. Obviously, I didn't want him to kill himself, so I opened up about my past too. Sexual and physical abuse as a child. It seemed to really help. He took my hand and started stroking it. I didn't mind because he was just looking for comfort. Anyway, we all talked for about 45 minutes. He's still holding my hand and stroking the top of it. My friend is telling him about her past too, and that it's getting better, etc. He takes all of our hands, which is fine. He says we're like his sisters, and that he's homeless and lives on the beach. He says he doesn't care about himself, and he only cares about other people. I asked, "What makes you think you're not worthy of being cared for?" He burst into tears and said, I don't know. I feel for him. I take on too many burdens from others because I want to help. Anyway, it's getting colder and I'm in shorts and a linen top because I gave my hoodie to E. I'm really good at dealing with cold. My body usually projects warmth. He touches my leg and says, "Oh, you are boiling. Why are you so warm?" He then touches my friend's leg and says she's freezing. We were still kind of drunk, so I didn't really think much of it. Before all this, he was talking about how he respects everyone, especially women, and any man who is disrespectful to him has to deal with him. He told my boyfriend to take care of me, etc. I asked if he likes jelly beans, and then I gave him the bag that I got from a store a few hours ago. My friends gave him a chocolate bar. We didn't really have any proper food. He looks at me and says, "You are stunning. Absolutely stunning." Without trying to sound like I'm vain, I have thick, very long curly hair, dyed red, which gets a lot of compliments, an hourglass figure, and long legs, and a pretty face. I'm not really usually freaked out when strangers call me pretty, so it didn't really raise any red flags. He calls my friend pretty too. Anyway, we gave him offerings and decided it was time for us to get some food. It was about 8 p.m. Me and my boyfriend were going on a date, and my other two friends were going off to get some of their food. So we get up and say our goodbyes. He then placed a kiss on my hand. He hugged each one of us a few times, but on the last hug, he kisses E's forehead and then hugged me and leaguer a kiss on my jaw. He touches my back and says, "Oh, you are like a furnace." It was over so quickly and slowly, I didn't know what to do. At the time, we were all a little bit like, what the fuck just happened? But that was yesterday, and I talked to E about it, and she says that it made her so uncomfortable, and me too. After we left him, we all agreed to meet today and give him some more blankets and food, but we talked about it. We figured out he was making some stuff up because it was so elaborated and practiced, and it didn't even end up happening. I talked to a friend who always hangs out at the beach, and she says she knows him, and that he's a bit weird. Not dangerous, but definitely messed up. He tells everyone that he's going to kill himself, and she advised me to stay away.
This happened like 3 weeks ago. It was 6:30 p.m. I was walking home from school and I encountered this one homeless man, I assume in his 30s. He always wanders around my suburb, carrying a sack along with his 2 children, which I assume to be toddlers. One of his children approached me and tried holding my hand, begging if I had any spare change. I think giving food is better than giving money, so instead of giving them some coins, I gave the kid 1 packet of biscuits from my backpack, and the kid was okay with that, but his father wasn't. He gave me a bad look, so I walked away feeling uneasy, and also sprayed hand sanitizer on my hands afterwards, because his hands were seriously dirty at the time, and he had just scavenged from a nearby trash bag right before that moment. 2 days after, I encountered them again when I was on my way home around the same time, but on a different street in my suburb after coming from a friend's house. They were begging really hard for money. Didn't even have any food with me at the time. The man asked me if I really didn't have any money, and that made me feel startled and gave me serious chills. He started approaching me really slowly, asked if he could check my backpack or pockets, so I started moving away from him. But then his 2 kids started grabbing my bag and prevented me from escaping. I managed to move fast enough that their hands got separated from my bag, and they started crying real hard when they fell to the ground. Their dad yelled at me while I was escaping and called me a selfish and heartless person for doing that to his children. I tried contacting the local authorities in my area to see if they witnessed the man and child in the streets. They said that they were quite familiar with him since they wander around frequently. After telling them what happened to me, they told me that they will patrol the area to see if he comes back. However, I have not seen him since. This took place in 2019, before the whole COVID shit show started. I was trying to find a job and went through the global connections of employment. Due to a recommendation of my mom, she had worked with them when they were known as Gulf Coast Enterprise. I had gotten done with my seminar and I was waiting for the bus. This hobo had walked up and asked if I had any money for a drink. I told him I only had enough money for the bus and I needed it. That seemed to trigger him. He almost immediately got aggressive with me and demanded that I give him my money. I told him no again, that I needed it. His response was, "Yeah, well I need it more than you. Wherever you need to go, you can walk, fat ass." I just stood there scared because I'm not one for conflict, and this guy was making me feel really uncomfortable. His eyes went wild when I wouldn't pull out my wallet. He was about to throw a punch when we both suddenly heard a police cruiser blare their siren as they passed by. He stopped almost at once and stormed off, muttering to himself about God knows what. I was shaking pretty badly when the bus came around, and I never saw him again after that. For the rest of the time that I was training and I had to go take that bus, I did fear that he would come around again. He didn't, so that's a good thing. Let's keep it that way, shall we? Last night around 12:30, I was blitzed and wanted a snack as you do, so I went to 7-Eleven for a quickie. Now I live north of Orlando, outside the burbs, surrounded by cornfields. No streetlights, and I couldn't hit my closest neighbor's house with a rock if I tried. So imagine my absolute horror when I grabbed me my snacks, shut my car door, turn and see someone standing with a flashlight. I tried to hold my screams, and halfway expecting it to be one of my 6 other family members who lived in the house. Before I can muster up a word, I hear, "You don't know me, but," and take off, screaming babe over and over again as I ran the 40 feet inside my house to frantically tell my boyfriend what happened and to get the gun. As we unlock the safe, I hear the dude talking outside my door. My boyfriend goes outside strapped, only to face a 6'2" skinny tweaker high off his ass with scabs all over his face on a bike 2 feet from our door. "Dude, do you know where you fucking are? You're lucky she only went to the store and didn't go strapped. You'd be dead right now. What the fuck do you want?" "I'm sorry, sir. My name is Carrie. All my friends call me Bear. I used to be big, but all the fentanyl and meth left me like this. I got all my stuff stolen, my bike, my bags. I'm homeless. I got everything I owned stole from me. I saw her come up the road and got excited that someone was awake, so I followed her to ask if I could use her Wi-Fi." "He stole your bike? You're on a bike. Who the hell follows a woman alone at night with good intentions?" My boyfriend followed, gun no longer pointed, but I could tell he was as conflicted as I was. "Well, I grabbed it when I saw your car. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know she was a woman. I won't mean no harm. Please, I just need your Wi-Fi, and I'll leave. I'm sorry I scared you. I didn't mean to." I put my hotspot on for this guy. There's no way I was giving him access to my home Wi-Fi and having him come back here for free Wi-Fi as he pleased. I left my phone with my boyfriend and went back in to get a couple of free promotional backpacks we had. I filled one with canned food and another with giveaway clothes and a trash bag full of old blankets. I told the guy there's people here at all hours of the day and not to come back no matter what. He's lucky he found the only house of hippies in 10 miles, or he probably wouldn't be breathing. Then we watched as his little red bike light disappeared down a long dark street. This guy got everything he owned stolen, and I felt bad, no matter how awfully he scared me. What would you have done?